history of having both Arab Americans and Jewish Americans who live in peace, we should mention, in our region. Yet we have this war that's raging on 6,000 miles away. But it feels like it's happening not that far away. We know that today we saw on the interstate so many people putting their own safety in danger to make a point. Imam, you said, yeah, we know it's dangerous, and we're aware of that, and that's why we're doing it. We want to say this is why this is so important. What did you hope will come out of something like that demonstration today?
It's not so much a hope, more as much as it is an acknowledgement of the fact that there's a genocide going on. And when a genocide is happening, people have real feelings. The executive director of the Islamic Cultural Association in Farmington Hills' nephew was killed on Friday. There are many family members here that are afraid of holding funeral services at the mosque because of the intimidation tactics against Muslims right now. And so these are real family members. And to be honest with you, it doesn't make those people more important because they have family members in America. There are 12,000 civilians that were murdered. Raz Segal, who's an Israeli genocide expert, said there is no indication whatsoever to say that there is an explicit interest in absolutely eradicating Palestinians off the face of the earth from the illegal Zionist regime.
So when you, Rabbi, when you hear this talk from the Imam talking about numbers, I mean, you were talking about thousands of Palestinians that were killed, 1.4 million displaced already. That's more than half of the people who live in that area of Gaza. When you see that, does your heart go out for the people of Gaza who are Palestinian?
Absolutely. For the innocent civilians of Gaza, my heart goes out. And that's why Israel is creating these corridors to enable people to get out of North Gaza, Gaza City,
and then
out of the zone. No, not bombing them.
And then bombing them on the Rafah crossing, and bombing trucks with water in them.
You know, I want to say something.
Go ahead, Rabbi.
When the Jewish community, and we had a vigil on Tuesday night, and we had another vigil with 3,000 people before, we sing, we cry, we're calm, we're not yelling and screaming, even though Hamas, in a genocidal move, killed 14,000 of our brothers and sisters of civilians and raped them. And rape is
this is absolutely false.
Okay, then
right now, the Times of Israel today reported that there is no evidence of sexual assault today. Also, let me tell you how many times the lies happened. The supernova today there was an article. Today there was a. It's not about interrupting. You are accusing the accusation of rape. The accusation of rape.
I'm going to ask.
No problem. The accusation of rape was utilized to justify the massacre.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to ask for a pause.
Rape is false.
I'm going to go to Charlie for a second here, okay?
Yeah.
We have the President of the United States who basically says no, absolutely no ceasefire, but we will do these 4-hour pauses.
Absolutely.
And that was progress that happened today. I know that we're.
How is that progress?
We should be progress compared to.
Pause it like a video game and then resume bombing?
Is that a political move, or is that certainly going to make a difference in getting some people out?
Well, I think anything the President of the United States does, especially now here, is going to be a political move, arguably. But, yeah, the pause is a good first thing. What it tells me, though, is that there is some communication between the parties involved. And I'm not, 4 hours, it's not enough. It's not practical. There are logistics. You need 4 days.
Are we really saying that after 12,000 people were murdered? No, I'm sorry. Maybe you're not used to equal conversations. Are we really suggesting that a humanitarian pause is a legitimate response? Is a legitimate response to 12,000 people being killed? Hold on. Are we saying that after? No. The Times of Israel said it. The Times of Israel said it.
I want to hit a ceasefire in the talk here for a moment, and I'm going to demand it, and here's why, because the people at home can't understand two people talking over each other. So we're going to take some turns here, okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to go to the rabbi, and I'm going to let him finish his point, and then you can make up your point.
I just want to say, as a responsible journalist, we should not be allowing any information that has not been vetted through basic journalistic process to be propagated. Because those lies, like Debbie Dingle spewed, the rape and the beheaded babies, that is why they are justifying the massacre. I won't allow for dehumanization of my people to occur, to make it about Hamas. You can keep pointing at me as much as you want, but this is the reality of the situation.
I'm going to give the rabbi a chance to talk about this topic in a way that perhaps is productive and we don't get into some of the nuance. If you disagree, I'll ask politely that you hold your opinion until we're finished. Rabbi,
let him provide sources.
What's one moment, Imam? What is the end game? Two-state solution. That is what President Biden is saying. That's what the world is talking about. Is that something that's viable with something that has century-old vitriol packed in it? Is this something that's viable?
It is viable if the Palestinian people accept the existence of the Jewish state of Israel. Hamas in its charter does not accept that. When people say from the river to the sea, they are not accepting a Jewish state of Israel. But once the Palestinian people and the Oslo Accords, the PLO, began to accept that, once they accept that there can be a Jewish state there somewhere between the river and the sea, then absolutely we can live together. That's coexistence.
May I respond to this?
In one moment, I wanted to talk about the river to the sea point.
But before you move on, the Palestinian
the river to the sea comment that Rashida Tlaib made had her censured. Do you believe that that was an acceptable punishment for using comments and using that phrase?
Absolutely, totally irresponsible, and she's talking about aspirational, because from the river to the sea means ending the existence of the state of Israel and having just one Palestinian state from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, and that is wiping the Jewish state off the map. That is anti-Semitism, and that needs to be censured.
Should have Ms. Tlaib, Congresswoman Tlaib, perhaps said, you know what, maybe I shouldn't use that phrase because it's been adopted by Hamas, and I should have just said, look, I want the freedom of Palestinians.
Lovely.
Do you think that that's something that she should have said?
Excellent. I'm an academic, and I like to be very accurate with the information that I spread. Number one, Palestinian Liberation Organization has agreed to 1967 borders multiple times. Number two, go read the 2017 charter of Hamas themselves that you love to keep bringing up. They also wanted to agree to the 1967 borders. Go read it for yourself. And by the way, this was also stated by Catherine Bogan, who grew up in a Zionist family and is a Jew herself, and she is propagating excellently all of the information to clarify the true nature of the Palestinian narrative. Palestinians have always been willing to engage in peace, and every single time who wants to pull out at the last minute, Benjamin Netanyahu. This is number one. As for what you said, Rashida Tlaib is my hero, and I am proud of her. And just like she now has entered into the ranks of Joshua Giddings in 1842, who brought in anti-slavery resolutions and was censured, and now we look at him and we say we're proud of him. I am proud of what Rashida said, and I will say it myself, because it's not a Hamas slogan. That's also hasbara and propaganda. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, as it was prior to the entry of the Jews of the Zionist era, when we had Muslims, Jews, and Christians living in Palestine side by side. There was never any issue until the Zionist illegal regime entered into the picture and had a power trip and utilized that and displaced 750,000 Palestinians in 1948. That's history.
So river to the sea, I understand. That's not a Hamas slogan. That has been a piece of history.
In a PhD thesis by Dr. Ghada Sasa in McMaster University, it says that Israelis only use 8% of the land. There is room for everyone to come back. Not under the banner of the State of Israel.
But
not under the banner. Because you murdered, because you occupied us for 75 years.
You cannot have it both ways.
Look, let me tell you why. You know, when we talk about the condemnation, when we talk about the condemnation, the reason why we don't fit into your sound bites is because they never were held accountable. Look how riled up he is. Because do you acknowledge? I'm not intimidating you. You genocide my people, and then that's why I'm done with the theatrics. I'm done with the theatrics of public civility, where you can orchestrate a genocide behind closed doors. Let me finish.
What are you hoping for? What is the end game?
I am hoping. God says in the Quran, certainly in the Gospels and in every scripture, we have decreed that the earth is for the inheritors of the earth are the righteous, the righteous Jews, Muslims, and Christians that have lived side by side before the creation of this illegal occupation.
Yes, they were living well.
What about the what about the 1948 Tontora massacre, where there are soldiers that are laughing? Go please watch the 1948 Tontora massacre, where IDF soldiers raped women and laughed about it.
And
go read about it.
Approved of that, where people approved of Hamas. Hamas doing that raping. And if ever
that raping was not confirmed.
Listen,
that is
not confirmed.
problematic, we condemn it, but
Not
you have
confirmed.
condemned
Beheaded
that.
babies not confirmed. Supernova Music Festival today. Israel said, "Oh, actually, we shelled that area."
You are denying everything.
Yes, Israel has a track record to lie.
We have to wrap this up.
You have lied for 75 years that Palestinians don't exist. Do you remember Khalid Turani? Do you remember Khalid Turani, who was a guest? The deed of his house said English, Hebrew, and Arabic.
Not going to get
one last opportunity.
Listen, let me say something. Absolutely.
A two-state solution possible?
I will tell you something.
Yes or no?
The problem with the West in academia, there's a concept called American exceptionalism, and you think that in order for a solution to occur, it has to occur by permission of the West. Let me tell you something. The French tried to occupy Algeria for 132 years. Were the Algerians successful in ousting the French based on Western approval?
I take that as a no.
So I will tell you. I will tell you. No, there is not under the state of Israel. They occupied us for 75 years.
Two Palestinian
I think this is going to be a difficult.
I think it is a difficult and a very long discussion.
750,000 people. Where are they now? They're all in the diaspora.
Rabbi, I want to thank you for your time today. Imam, thank you for your time today. I'm sorry that sometimes you just can't have the discussion without the two opposing sides not being
Zionism
able to
is terrorism. You cannot converse with terrorists.
I want to thank you for both for joining us today. On the other side of the break, the Israel-Hamas war will be no doubt a big topic in the